Hi, and welcome to Reddit Files, where real stories cut deeper than fiction. Let's go into it.
July 9th was the first D-Day. About 5:30 a.m., I received a Facebook Messenger message from an unknown person. I dismissed it at first. It wasn't until about 10:30 after my wife went to work that I actually opened the message and started going through the content. I work from home and I'm usually up by 5 a.m. My wife gets up, gets ready, and must be out the door by 9:30 to be at work by 10. She drops our two youngest ones downstairs with me in the office before she heads out. We have a 3-year-old and a 9-month-old together. When I first started reviewing the content, I couldn't really describe the emotions I was going through. My heart sank. I think I was in disbelief. Background: my wife has 2 children from a previous relationship, my stepchildren. I've raised them since they were little. I also have 2 children from a previous marriage. My wife and I have been together for almost 9 years, and the marriage has been a beautiful one, completely opposite of my previous marriage, which was an absolute nightmare. The message was from the sister of my wife's baby daddy's wife. We have had drama in the past, with her accusing my wife and her husband of carrying on an affair. Yes, these should have been a red flag, but at the time I believed my wife and I trusted her, and I had no reason not to. What was sent to me was a video of his wife scrolling through his phone, accessing his Snapchat, and navigating to his and my wife's saved chats. She scrolled through what he had saved. The content still makes me shake when I think about it. They had been communicating via Snapchat since the beginning of last year. She was sending him nudes monthly. Some of them were edited with text saying "thinking of you" or "miss you." There was also text, not all of it was saved, but what did imply that they had met up or were planning on meeting up, with text saying things like "that sounds like fun, can't wait," and later, "that was fun." Still in the denial phase, my first thought was maybe this is AI-generated Snapchat feed. Although I figured it out, the amount of work it would take and technical know-how would be too much for the other party to do. After coming to that realization, my world started to unravel. Nothing made sense anymore. Everything came into question. My whole world was flipped upside down. I had some of the darkest thoughts I've ever had. I had no one to talk to. I had no family up here. A little backstory: my wife and I moved out of state about 8 years ago. We left both her families behind. Eventually, her sisters moved up here, and her family continually visits. My family does not. I am not a social person. I don't have any friends. My wife is my best friend. She is my everything. I'm not very active on social media. The only people I interact with are her and her family. When all this happened, I really had nowhere to turn. I didn't know what to do. I managed to barely hold it together. I waited until she got home from work around 7 p.m., had my stepdaughter watch the children, and confronted her in our bedroom. I was terrified. I'm not one to lash out in anger. I'm not a very aggressive guy. I'm very passive and have a habit of avoiding conflict. I tend to get hurt and bottle it up. I sat her down, telling her what I had received, and asked her if she cared to explain. Her first reaction for the first 30 seconds was defensive, asking me for details on what I think I had. I told her I really didn't want to describe what I saw, but I would if I had to. After I started describing some of the stuff in detail that was in the message, she broke down and started crying. She owned up to it and she admitted what she did. She said that she was sorry and that she feels disgusting and that I don't deserve any of this, that I was such a good man. She answered all my questions, although I should have had more. I was still reeling and I couldn't think straight. She didn't give me an explanation right at that moment, and I didn't push for one, which was my probably mistake. She said that she didn't know why she did it, but felt horrible about it and was sorry. I didn't know how to counter that. After a few hours of talking and a long awkward silence, she says I should reach out to her sister. Her sister was going through a similar situation with her husband cheating on her. Before I got a chance to say I didn't want to get her family involved, because I didn't want to cast a shadow over her image, she blurts out, "I have to call our brother-in-law, her sister's husband." She says I'm going to FaceTime him in the car. She disappears for quite a while and then comes back up. About a minute after she comes back up, I get a text from her sister. Her sister is the only person I've been to get me through this experience. She talked me out of some of my darkest thoughts, and I can never repay her for what she did in the very beginning. However, because of reasons I will explain later, I no longer feel comfortable venting to her any longer. The next couple weeks were honestly beautiful. She was super caring, super affectionate, the wife I always wanted her to be. She would check in with me all the time to see how I was doing. She opened up a lot about her past. We had a lot of multiple hour-long conversations and a couple all-nighters just talking. That is, until the second D-Day, July 25th, 2025. I received a message from his wife directly. She sent me screenshots from the first incident. More backstory. We had an incident a couple years ago where his wife blew up my wife's phone, claiming that they were still sleeping together. I did not speak to his wife at that time or him. I let my wife handle it. My wife said that she had stumbled across an old archive of porn that my wife and her ex had made together. I accepted this excuse because I had seen the collection when we first got together and I had made her delete it. How naive I was. In the first D-Day, it did cross my mind that maybe these were old images. However, in a couple of them, my wife made the mistake of leaving her wedding ring on. These new screenshots weren't just images, they were of detailed communication between my wife and her ex through Facebook Messenger dating back years. The things that were discussed hurt harder than the images being shared. Things like, "You will always be my hubby. You will always be my wifey. You're the one that got away. If we only did things differently, if we only held on a little longer." Time for a little backstory on my wife's and her ex. They were high school sweethearts. They have 2 children together. Both of them were planned. She had her first one when she was 17. They've been off and on their whole lives. They both cheated on each other. It was a very toxic, on and off, violent relationship. She admitted to cheating on most of her other boyfriends with him and to cheating on him with other men. She lived a very crazy life before she met me, partying and fucking. She has been open about this since the day one. Our thing was that I tamed her. I was the one that opened her eyes and got her to calm down. She was my Mustang. She also had a rough upbringing that probably led to a lot of her decisions. My wife has this magnetic attraction. People just like her. Her ex is obsessed over her. Her baby daddy has the same thing, but the male equivalent. Women throw themselves at him.
I confronted her during the second D-Day, and she again got defensive, but this time a little hostile, trying to snatch my phone to see what I had. I pulled back, and I don't know if it's the look I gave her, but she shut down. She admitted to it all, the communication, that the old pictures were a lie. She broke down again, just like last time, answering everything I asked, regardless of how much it hurt. She still hadn't given me a solid explanation of why she's been doing this. The first explanation she gave after the first D-Day was she was suffering from severe postpartum after our second child, and I wasn't supporting her enough. She was getting from him what she wasn't from me. He was making her feel good. We had a come-to-God meeting a few months ago where she told me how she felt, and I fixed things. I stepped up and addressed most of her issues. She saw it, and because of that, she said she wanted to tell me about the communication so badly. She says she couldn't work up the courage because it would hurt me. There is also the fact, despite all that regret she was having at the time, she continued sending him nudes well after our discussion. After the second D-Day incident, there was no explanation at first. The same explanation still counted because the older incidences started right after our first child was born, meaning during her first postpartum. She knows that it is not an excuse to do what she did, but it's the only logical one she has offered. My main issue this whole time has been whether or not she has feelings for him still. She keeps claiming that she doesn't. She emphasizes that she absolutely does not. Shortly after the second D-Day, she gave me access to an email address she had from back in high school. She was saving screenshots of their communication in it. The communication was only 3 weeks older than the first D-Day. She told me she intended to use the communication as blackmail in case she had to. She said that this whole time she was doing it as sort of a vengeance thing, to mess with him and fuck with his relationship. A couple things changed between the first and second D-Days. After the first, she told me I could talk to whoever I wanted, whenever I wanted, about whatever I wanted, including her ex and his wife if it helped with my healing. After the second D-Day, she didn't want me communicating with her ex or his wife at all costs, and was pretty firm about it. She says it won't be good for our healing. During this incident, I had her send a closure message to her ex and then block him. In previous conversations, I found out that they never really had any closure. No one ever told the other that it was over and there was no chance for a future. I allowed her to compose the language.
I also made sure he was blocked on her phone and all our other social medias. Snapchat was to be deleted off her devices and her accounts closed. I was communicating with the wife while my wife and I were talking about this, but things got weird. My first communications with the wife were pretty open and productive. She shared a lot of information and she was eager to learn more. During this conversation, she had a completely different demeanor. She didn't care about any more evidence. She basically didn't care about what I had to say and said that she didn't want anything to do with it anymore. I concluded that it wasn't her, it was probably him. He's a stay-at-home mom. He's the only income. He probably has control over the cell phone accounts and everything in that house. My original intention was to work with the wife to make sure my wife and him don't communicate, but I gave up on that. My wife's ex does not live in the same state as we live in. He also moved out of our original state a few months after we did. He lives a couple of states away, but works for a railroad. He works on a train line that passes through our city. I have been told that line he works does not come all the way to us, but his rail company does go all the way from his state, passing through us, all the way to the coast. Seeing his company's trains sitting still in our city or passing through is a major trigger. We did get started on marriage counseling. At first, my wife was all for it, but now she's more or less saying she's going because it helps me, but doesn't feel like it's helping her. I have pushed for individual therapy for both of us, but because she can't afford to pay for it on her own, she refuses to let me pay or get help to pay for it because it's her fault and won't have me paying for her mistake. She has scaled back on affection and general empathy. She doesn't check in as much as she used to. She doesn't come by hugging me and tell me that she loves me very often anymore. She says I love you out of the blue sometimes, but I say it much more than she does. She's doing better than she usually is, and I do see her trying. She was never very affectionate from the very beginning. I love intimacy and affection, but it was something that I sacrificed in the very beginning. She warned me that she wasn't like that, and I accepted it. As our relationship developed, she got very affectionate. She got very lovey-dovey with me. She used to remark that she never was like that with anybody, that I was the first person she felt like that with. After we moved out of state, that slowly faded, and she returned back to her normal self. I just accepted it as the honeymoon phase was over. Now she's being affectionate a lot more than her normal self. Honestly, it's not enough. It's not to the level that I wanted before I sacrificed it. We've arranged date nights with her sister. One weekend they watch the kids so we can go on a date. The next weekend we watch the kids so they can go on a date.
We have taken a lot of steps that have brought us closer than ever. I know more about her than any other person in my life. She has opened up to me about every little detail about her past. Before all this, we had a great marriage. We told each other everything, I thought. We never argued. We bickered a little, but had a rule to never go to bed mad at each other. We used to talk through our issues and saw eye to eye on most things. We both had the same worldview and really are best friends. We were able to talk about people we find attractive without any jealousy or negative feelings, but I still feel like there's secrets. So far, when I come to her with a trigger or a concern, she's been pretty good about staying calm and answering all my questions. 1 month since the first day I checked her Facebook Messenger to make sure he was still blocked, I told myself on day 1 after 1 month, I will check. I don't like policing her phone, and I told her I'm not going to do so. I work in technology, and I know how easy it is to hide things. If you want something hidden, it's going to be hidden. I am super gullible, too trusting, and see the best in everyone. I didn't want my passiveness and gullibility to allow this sort of thing to happen again. So I told myself I was going to check after 1 month. Well, I checked, and she got a notification. It kind of triggered her and put her in a bad mood. A couple days later, I was doing some maintenance on our home network. I noticed a large amount of Snapchat data being used. I figured it was my stepdaughter, but the records indicated my wife's phone was using just about as much as my stepdaughter's phone. Far more data than my phone, and I use Snapchat only occasionally. Naturally, I got concerned. I got my wife's tablet to check her screen time to do a little investigation. Sure enough, there was about 1 hour and 30 minutes of Snapchat usage in her screen time for the previous week.
44 minutes on one day alone. This was right after we had a camping trip with her sister's family that didn't go so well. I had many triggers, and we got into an argument. She called me selfish, self-centered, and said I just wanted to dominate her. The complete opposite of my personality. I worked at the courage to confront her about this Snapchat usage, figuring it would go well because the last few times I talked about triggers, she was really understanding, with the exception of the camping trip. This time, it didn't go so well. She denied it. She said she has no idea why her screen time says that. I told her that when I was on her tablet, I opened the Snapchat app, which should have been deleted, and there were 2 accounts to log into saved in her keychain. Since my face is on her tablet, I was able to log into both accounts. One account was blank completely, with no email, no phone, no name, just a logon name. The other account was linked to her old high school email address and only her ex as a friend. Although it did indicate communication with him was 5 weeks ago, pre-D-Day 1, I asked her why the apps weren't deleted. She said she never said she was going to delete them. She said she was just going to delete the accounts. She didn't give me an explanation of why there were 2 additional accounts still open. She seemed to give the impression that she didn't know they were there. Even though I didn't get any satisfactory explanations, I told her the apps need to be deleted. We deleted them, and I told her those other 2 accounts need to be closed. We went through the process of closing them. However, during this process, she couldn't remember the password to confirm the deletion, so she kept on trying to figure out what the password was on the first account. Our daughter was giving us a hard time, so I had to walk around with her. At first, I could see everything she was doing, but slowly she was tilting the tablet so I could not see what she was doing. As I repositioned myself to see, she slapped it down in her lap, annoyed. I took it and logged into both accounts to show her they were active. The blank account now had a username, but no email. She took it back to try to delete them again. I couldn't see everything she was doing, but when she finished with the one account and showed me it was deleted, I said, now the second one. I attempted to log into it to show her, and it was also deleted. I asked her how this one was all of a sudden deleted. She said she didn't do it and didn't have any other explanation. At some point in all the hiding, she managed to delete that account too. I've concluded that I'm probably not going to be able to confront her about anything circumstantial unless I have rock-solid evidence. I don't know how she managed it out of me, but during this whole process, she kept uncomplaining about how she felt all eyes were on her, how she feels like everybody is watching her every move, always tracking her location. Everyone, meaning myself and her sister. I ended up unsharing her location with me and disabling the Ring cameras so that she didn't feel like she was being watched. I know in retrospect, that sounds stupid, but it felt like the only way to hold it together. Now about her sister. In the very beginning, she was very supportive, and again, I can't thank her enough for what she did for me. She brought me out of a very dark place. Since then, a pattern has emerged. When I vent about issues we're having, she is super supportive and super understanding. She has very kind, reassuring words. When I tell her about our progress and the positive things, she either ghosts me or is pretty unsupportive. She tells me to be careful. Don't let your guard down. Don't be gullible. She never has any positive reinforcement or encouragement that I'm doing the right thing. She is of the option her sister is still hiding something, and frankly, she's probably right. She seems to exhibit jealousy-like behavior when we go to therapy. The current arrangement is my wife and I drop the kids off with her sister so we can go and do our therapy session. For those reasons, I'm no longer venting to her positive or negative. I don't want to create any hostility between sisters. I've tried to share the story before publicly when it first happened during the first D-Day, and it didn't get met with very positive feedback. Everything from leave her, she's no good for you, to your story is fake. I'm going to attempt to share in this group in hopes that someone can relate. I'm not sure what I want to get out of this besides just venting what I'm going through.
First, I know I should leave. I know it's the right thing to do for my mental health.
Before this relationship, I was in an absolutely horrible first marriage that lasted an agonizing 9 years. Most of the individual therapy I need and issues that affect this marriage stem from that previous marriage. That situation bottomed out with me trying to unlive myself, then peaked after she promised to change, then bottomed out, leading to a divorce. In it, I was under constant surveillance, not just cell phones tracked. I had to carry around a voice recorder with 12 hours of memory so she could review the audio logs every night. She reviewed the call logs every bill cycle and called each number she didn't know. When I was unemployed, I had to stay in the apartment with all curtains closed. I was not allowed to leave or even look out the window. She had 5 camcorders set around to cover all angles, and she reviewed the footage every night. If I broke any of the rules, the punishment would be violence and pain. She would use our kids as leverage against me, saying I'd never see them again, or she would make accusations that would put me in prison. Anyhow, sorry for the rant. Probably the reason I'm against policing. After that period, I took about a year to gather myself and focus on work. I entered the dating market after about a year using a dating app. I dated a few women on there, my wife being one of them. She was the last one I dated. She won me over. I can't explain it, but after that first date, I was hooked. I felt as if I could tell her anything. My last marriage was not out of love. We got together because she got pregnant by accident and neither one of us believed in abortion. So when I connected with my wife, it was on a whole nother level. Not this puppy dog stuff from high school. I felt like I'd known her forever. After that first date, we both deleted our dating apps and closed our accounts. We did this together as a group activity. It was surreal. The only exes that were off limits were the parents of our current children. That will come to bite me in the ass. We joke around with each other, we have the same worldview on things, find the same things funny. We can spend hours in each other's company, just talking. No phones, no distractions. We can scroll endlessly on either a social media, making fun of the posts, or select a random movie off Netflix and joke on how bad it is. We enjoy the same music, same food, same movies, and TV shows. We have our separate hobbies, like she's into photography and I'm into 3D printing, but on most important things, we are one. A year later, we moved 3 states away to get away from all the chaos of the big city. Since moving, we do everything together and enjoy it. The only time we are apart is when she is at work. We never argue. I think we have only had 3 actual arguments in 9 years. We bicker every now and then, but never left anything unresolved. The sex is amazing. I am able to make her squirt multiple times. All of her family and her siblings, most of all, looked up to our relationship as what to strive for. Needless to say, this betrayal took me and her sister completely by surprise. I was blindsided. We truly were a team. There was also the issue of our kids. I'm already co-parenting with a difficult ex. My wife says if we separate, I can have the kids. The issue is I have no one up here, only her family. The children are already acclimated to this lifestyle. Know one thing, my kids are my life. A very important part of my worldview is the point of life is to raise our children. My future does not matter as much as setting them up for success and allowing my memory to live on in them. Children are more successful when in 2-parent households. Those are just simple facts. I get when people say it's not good for the children. That only applies to toxic households like my last one. There is nothing wrong with our household besides her doing things behind my back. On the other hand, on the outside, we still look perfect, even to the kids. We have done a good job containing the situation so as to not affect them. This is also one of her most important worldviews. She would die for her kids. If I were to ever do anything to them, the gods couldn't save me. Finally, there is our age. I'm at an age where I don't really care to start over. My life is here with this family, and I love them. Dating sounds exhausting in today's world.
Everyone my age is going to have some kind of baggage and exes to deal with. I'm not going to date too young because, frankly, I don't see eye to eye with them on most things. I don't want to be by myself, and I don't see myself being able to participate in family activities after a separation, for my own health. That's no life for myself or the kids. Why would I strip away the only family and joy I still get?
Thanks for hanging out with us on Reddit Files. If this story hit home for you, drop a comment and let us know. What part got to you the most? Ever had one of those quiet moments in a relationship that changed everything? Your stories matter too, and this community's all ears. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who might need to hear it. Until next time, stay kind and don't let yourself disappear.